taking refuge in our capacity to be right here, now, letting our thoughts go. Except for this one thought, I take refuge in the practice of mindfulness and loving kindness. And then finally, we take refuge in our community. We allow ourselves to be moved by each other's practice, to be touched and inspired by it. And we give our support to every other woman in this room through our own practice. We take refuge in our community, the understanding that we are not alone, and that we practice not only for ourselves, but for every other woman in this room, and for all beings everywhere. We take refuge in our Sangha. Thank you. So I just want to acknowledge again the specialness not only of being here, but of what we've just done in a world that is so lost. To come together and to incline our intentions and our energies towards these refuges is deep and profound. So acknowledging the blessing of our taking the refuges and appreciating ourselves for doing it. Some of us invited joy into the circle, and one of the traditional conditions for bringing joy into our lives is to appreciate all the wholesome actions and intentions that we've brought into our lives, and this is one. And so we can take joy in the wholesomeness of taking the refuges. So then we also have the practice of taking the precepts. There are many practices that are optional for this weekend. If you feel like it's a walking meditation and you want to sit more and just be under a tree and be quiet, that's totally fine. If you find yourself exhausted from your life and decide that you need to take one part of the morning or afternoon and sleep, that is totally fine too. The practice of the precepts aren't optional, so they're part of the basis of what brings safety into our community. And so if you have any trouble with the precepts and the taking of the precepts, you can come and talk to me afterwards. So the first precept is not taking life. Not for this weekend at least, not intentionally killing any life, and that includes the challenge of not killing mosquitoes or flies or spiders. But more importantly, to invite our hearts to deeply honor all of life as part of our family. one of the most significant learnings that I had around this precept when I was on a 3-month retreat at IMS, and we had really bad mosquitoes there because it's damp, and there was a mosquito buzzing around, and it was hot and muggy, and it was the afternoon, and I put a sheet over my head, and it was impossible to concentrate because it was so hot under the sheet. And in one moment of frustration, I took the sheet off and I got my flip-flop, and I said, where is that mosquito? And I got my flip-flop and I smashed the mosquito against the wall, and it just splotched red. And in that moment, because I'd been meditating, I saw my mind, and it was full of violence. And it was a moment of murder, of taking life. And it was such a deep lesson in how this precept, in inviting us to refrain from that movement, invites a whole different relationship to the natural world around us. And to see that actually we're living in family. You know, that when we see life as an irritation rather than as life, it's easy to take that life. It's not that far, that mind moment is not that far from taking more and more complex life, that shutting down. And so when we shut down, when we move into that shutting down, we're actually covering our heart, not only to that life, but to ourselves. And so, as we take the refuge and dedicate ourselves to this awakening, the stringency or the discipline of that invitation then is in strengthening the heart not to create opposites. Of, I don't like this, I want to get rid of it. And we know that already, the suffering that comes from creating those kind of opposites. So not taking life is such a deep practice because it invites us to a new relationship with ourselves, with each other, and with the whole world. So see if you would like to take a moment to as a community, take this precept. I'll say it first and then you can follow me. I undertook the training not to take life. Thank you. And then the next precept is not to steal, not to take what is not offered. So it is just an incredible blessing to come into this community and with this precept to feel deeply at ease that the people in your house or cabin will not go into the room when you are meditating and steal. To have this as the guideline in our community is an incredible thing. So see if you would like to take this precept. I undertake the training not to take what is not offered. I undertake the training not to take what is not offered. There would be no corruption in the world if this training